Hey there, Rick Sage, recording at the Rimrock Studios in Bishop, California. Welcome to Season 2 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast, where I speak with retailers, brand managers, athletes, executives, and others in the outdoor biz and share their stories, tips, advice, productivity tricks, and ideas you can use to take your career or business to the next level. Today's podcast is brought to you by InMotion Hosting. I've used InMotion Hosting to host my websites for years. Rick Say's Photos, blogs, Stillwater's Consulting, and the Outdoor Biz Podcast are all hosted with InMotion Hosting. If your New Year's resolution is to publish a blog, produce a podcast, or simply secure a domain name, go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion and sign up with them today. They make it simple and quick to get a new site up and running with easy installation tools. That's theoutdoorbizpodcast.com/InMotion. Get going today. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Good morning, Rick. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to chat with you this morning. My first question is, how'd a guy with an English Lit degree get into the outdoors? You must have been playing in the outdoors before you went to college.
I did, but, I got out of college and I was going to, figure I'll take a year off and do the ski bum thing and then, get on with my serious adult life. And then that, 1 year became 10 years became 20, and here I am.
Awesome. Nice. So what was your first exposure to skiing? Did you do that as a kid?
I did as a kid growing up. I grew up in Michigan, and it was, we had a choice of several 200, 300-foot tall hills, which were augmented with sometimes trash, actually. A lot of the municipalities would dump their trash on top of it. We actually had one hill we called Mount Trashmore. And
I think
so we did a lot of turns. We only had 300 feet to do.
Right.
So we turned a lot.
Right. I had a buddy of mine who married a woman from Canada, and we went up to visit him, and they had a Mount Trashmore. Same concept. It was a flat in the plains of Canada, flat. When it snowed, they'd ski Mount Trashmore. That's funny.
Yeah, you have to kind of deal with the cards you're dealt and make the best of it.
Exactly, yeah. And we were talking earlier, so you spent some time on the east side as well, huh? Eastern Sierra.
Yeah, I lived in Berkeley from, I was like 90 to 98. Actually, I got my first gear job at REI, at the Berkeley REI in 1990.
Yeah.
And that was year two, and I got exposed to climbing and backcountry skiing, and just fell in love with it and spent a lot of time going out to the Sierra. I learned to climb at Lover's Leap, Tuolumne Meadows, Yosemite, and spent a lot of time skiing, in the Tahoe area and then in the Eastern Sierra.
It's awesome.
Just this really special place. I love it out there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful spot. And so was that your first outdoor job, or what was your first outdoor job?
It was my first outdoor job, yeah.
Gotcha. And how'd you just walk in and apply, or how'd you get?
Yeah, I heard about this place, REI, and it was a co-op, so that sounded really cool. And I just fell into a lot of like-minded people out there. And I was 22, 23 years old, first year out of college, and it kind of set me on my path. And it was always a challenge between trying to, work enough to live in the Bay Area, which I did. And I learned how to stretch a $3.60 Gordo burrito really far, and day old walnut bread from the bread shop. And, I could live very cheaply and try to work as little as possible and just get out to the mountains as much as I could. Yeah,
it's a great place. So you spent some time in Yosemite too, huh?
Yeah. It's as they say, it's a granite crucible. It's just an amazing place, world-class climbing, just right from your car.
Yeah, no doubt.
Nothing like it. Nothing like it in the world.
And how'd you end up in Colorado?
Well, so as the years went on in Berkeley, it was a really special place. In the 1990s, we called it the Gear Ghetto, and you had, North Face got their start there. Sierra Designs got their start.
Yeah.
Bob Swenson, when he left Sierra Designs, started Walrus down there.
Yeah.
Royal Robbins was down there. Mountain Hardware started down there.
Yeah.
And in this little corner of the world, Gilman and San Pablo, you had REI, and then all of these other, at that time, locally made outdoor gear.
Yeah.
And
that's a pretty good shop.
There's this little funky shop across the street called Wilderness Exchange. I was like, "What's this? I got to check this place out."
I remember that guy. Yeah, I remember that place.
Yeah, Jerry Jordan.
That's right.
We call him the Godfather.
Right. Yeah, I sold Montbell to them way back in the day.
I probably met you at some point.
Probably the early 90s. Yeah, like 89, 90 was when I was rep for Montbell. Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry kind of he put together all of these ideas into one shop. It was in one hand, it was a mountaineering shop, and it was focused on climbing and skiing. But also, he kind of incorporated the factory outlet idea into it, and doing seconds and closeouts from manufacturers, and then did a consignment and resale business. So he was the first to really kind of combine all those ideas into one kind of business, and it really attracted me. So I left REI and I went to work for Jerry. In the early 90s, and spent a few years at Wilderness Exchange in Berkeley.
And then you bounced out to Colorado just to start another store, or what made you go to Colorado?
Well, I assumed that this type of shop existed in every city, everywhere.
Right. Every little outdoor city. Right, yeah, right.
And I went to Denver. I went to Colorado to check out climbing in El Dorado Canyon, and which is quite a departure from Yosemite granite for sure.
Yeah, that's quite a change.
Yeah, you're looking for a dihedral there, and it's you're looking for this massive open book, and it's like, oh no, it's this little 2x2 foot corner. Right. It's like, okay, this is a little different.
Let me reorient how I'm reading the guidebook here.
Yeah, all the holes face the wrong way, and everything's off camber, and it just feels really weird.
Right.
But it was engaging for sure. So yeah, I came out here and I realized that there was nothing like it in Colorado, and I started to think about Denver as a place to live and somewhere where I could, spend a lot of time.
And so, did you start it on your own? Did you have a partner? How did that all come about?
I kind of just struck out, and I got a lot of mentorship from Jerry. And he was really excited that I was going to carry on his idea out to another location, and by that time I had met a lot of folks in the industry and made a lot of contacts and connections. So, I came out specifically looking for a place to open. I looked at Boulder, and that's no way. At the time, there were 5 mountaineering shops, really good ones. In Boulder, Colorado, and so I kind of just waited to see a good opportunity. And REI back in I think '99 announced that they were opening their flagship location in downtown Denver, and I flew in, came down and visited. I was like, oh, this is it, man. This is the place.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. Awesome. And so what were some of the challenges getting started? Obviously finding a location.
Well, I had no money.
That's a big challenge.
I had a closet full of gear and a lot of credit cards, though, and that helped. And I lived in the shop, so I was able to rent.
Perfect.
I was able to rent a place that had 500 square feet downstairs and had a little apartment upstairs. So it's like, okay, I can live here, and I'm going to be working a lot anyway, so I might as well just live in the shop. And, so I opened it up, and it was primarily a consignment shop initially, and a consignment's a great way to open a business because you don't have to buy the inventory.
Right,
you don't have to pay for it until it sells. And there was this pent up gear in Denver that people had that they wanted to sell. It was like there was no venue or no good place for reselling gear at the time. So we got a ton of inventory right away.
Probably a lot of folks. A lot of customers that wanted to both sell their old stuff and buy new stuff. That's a great,
people were just emptying out their closets. So we were getting more stuff than we could even handle.
Wow.
And it just really took off well at that point.
That's it. That's awesome. So what are you most proud of at starting Wilderness Exchange? The bootstrap?
I didn't really have a long-term plan of how it would go. I just thought that if I could make enough to keep it going and, eventually I hired a friend that, I knew from Berkeley, and eventually I hired another guy. And, I guess I'm most proud of that we've been able to kind of keep the exact mission that we started with going for 18 years of business.
That's awesome. Yeah,
it's always been about making the outdoors more affordable and accessible for people.
Yeah, that's
at
awesome.
all ends of the spectrum, of experience. And it's really cool to look in the shop now and see a whole new generation of climbers and skiers.
Right.
A lot of people locating to the state that are just psyched, and that the shop really resonates with them. And they, we always have hired skiers and climbers and always will. That's just the important part of the experience that we offer.
That's great. And how has the business changed over there? Are you still doing mostly consignment biz, or is it 50-50 retail?
No, it's evolved, and as time went on, we realized that we really could incorporate being a full line backcountry skiing and climbing shop. That people wanted that from us, and
cool.
as we evolved, the goal, we've always wanted, let's be the best climbing shop in the world, like everything top down that a climber could ever dream of wanting. And, it was a big step for me, because I originally envisioned the business as sort of a closeout consignment business.
Oh, interesting.
That sort of factory outlet model. But as it evolved, we sort of, became a full line shop as well.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And some stiff competition in your area too. I mean, from Boulder to Denver, there's some other great shops here. We just talked about.
There's great shops here. The customers in the Front Range, you have Neptune and Bentgate. They're all top, world-class shops.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we all occupy really different, and Denver's a big place. And
yeah, a lot of people. Yeah.
Boulder and Denver are two separate worlds, really.
Yes, they are. I lived in Louisville for a while. You are so right.
Yeah, it's kind of like the mullet of Denver. A little Boulder on one side, a little of Denver.
Yeah. But they're so different. Going to Boulder and then down to Denver, you're right. They're just one end.
They're just different marketplaces too. Yeah. We have more customers from Summit County than we do from Boulder, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so what's your, how did 2017 end up for you guys? Was it a good year?
Oh yeah, it ended up really, really up. We saw a lot of growth online, and the store has been growing as well. December was a little rough. We haven't had weather in Colorado. This is one of the most uncharacteristically dry winter seasons I've seen since I've lived in the state.
Mm-hmm.
There's not much open in the mountains, and how's this for a great business idea? Let's buy a bunch of fat skis and mark them up and try to sell them when there's no snow.
Right. Let's see how that works out for us. And so there hasn't been much snow. What's it looking like for 18? Are you guys? It's pretty dry out there too, right? Like California.
We're diverse enough, and there's enough growth in climbing that climbing is an all-season sport in Colorado,
right?
And the ice has been good. We're seeing people can't ski, so they're going ice climbing. So we're seeing a lot stronger than normal sales in ice climbing and ice tools this season. And there's enough. It's cold, and people still need warm jackets and gloves and hats. So it's nice not to just be a ski shop and have enough diversity to to kind of
diversification helps
temper the loss of sales in skis with other categories right now.
Yeah. What do you think will be your biggest challenge this year?
I think the challenges are just continually evolving in our industry. When we launched in 2000, that was really, most people just got their first emails in the late 90s.
Right.
And e-commerce just didn't exist. I think there's a startup in Boulder back in the late 90s called Planet Outdoors. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh yeah, they were trotting around the show, trying to get everybody. I was at Eagle Creek at the time, and that was the big.
They were extremely well funded.
Yeah.
They had great tech at the time. They had, there wasn't much technology to doing e-commerce, but they had it.
Yeah, they had all of it. Yeah. And they had some big hitters on board, Jeff O'Keefe and
exactly.
Dave Secunda.
They were so far ahead of their time. They were just like a year or two too early, I think.
Yeah.
People weren't yet ready to buy things online. I mean, I think at that time, I remember before I started the shop, and it was June of 2000, I went on a trip to, I spent a year kind of traveling and went to Asia, and I went to a travel agent to buy my airplane tickets for that trip. And then shortly after that, you did it all online. So that was kind of the first change.
Right.
People were starting to buy airline tickets online in about 2000, late 90s.
Yeah.
So that really changed the face of brick and mortar retail. I worked in shops in the 90s where, Mountain Gear had a catalog, REI had a catalog, but if you either went to your local shop for your gear needs, or you went to a couple different catalog companies that existed at the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What's your take on the whole evolution of the e-commerce business and how it's impacted the world over the years? Do you think it's going to continue to drive folks out of business? I'm excited about the change a lot of retailers are doing, like you guys, where they've embraced, they've dialed up the customer service, and it's gotten back to the old mountain shop days that we're used to, right? Great service, great assortments, great people. I think that's been the
you have to provide. It's not a transactional
right.
business anymore. You have to provide an experience for your customers when they come in the shop.
Right.
And it kind of has to blow their minds. I mean, you have to be exceptional now. You can't just be okay at what you're doing, and or you're not relevant.
Yeah.
The internet, we've embraced it. We do a lot of sales online as well as on third party. So there's three real strong components to our business. The brick and mortar, and then e-commerce and third party sales, and they're all growing equally. Even e-commerce might be even growing a little more. It's cool for us because we can keep the store looking fresher for our customers that come in. We have we can turn a lot of old stuff online and kind of keep the cycle. And there's a lot of deals in the shop. We do a lot of closeout buying, a lot of off-price buying. So people come frequently to the shop because they don't want to miss the deal, and they know it's always changing. So we're able to actually cycle through product quicker, change over quicker, and have faster inventory turns with an online component to it. So it makes the in-store experience better, as well.
Right. That's great. And what percentage of your business is in-store versus online?
Probably, about 70, maybe 68% in-store, about 32% online.
Oh, good for you. And they're growing equally. That's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. And how about some of the nonprofit work you guys do? Do you work with any local nonprofits?
One of a great group in the Front Range that we work really closely with is Friends of Bertha Pass, and they're a group that's all volunteer group that does advocacy and education for your backcountry safety. And we fundraise for them. We host a number of events they do in-store classrooms where it's a little more than just sort of an intro to avalanche safety. They get into it, and they follow it up with a non-snow demo.
Right on.
And these classes, it's like we'll have 100 people show up, and we're turning away another 100 people.
Wow.
The interest in avalanche safety in backcountry skiing in Denver right now, with all the new people coming to town, is enormous.
Yeah, that's great.
We didn't have those resources when we started. It's like, we take our skis and we're like, oh, what's backcountry skiing? I remember Brian Litz, there's this pink book he had with backcountry skiing in Colorado. I was like, what's backcountry skiing? I was living in Breckenridge. So I picked it up, it's like, oh, you can ski where there's not ski resorts? That's interesting. So me and my friends took a bunch of skis and we went up to Montezuma Bowl and skied it. It's like, oh, this is weird. Like there's slabs and you're punching through, and this doesn't ski like a ski resort. We have no idea.
Did you at least have beacons on?
No, we had.
Right. What's a beacon?
we were the guys from the Midwest that were idiots and should have probably not made.
Nice.
Not made it past 25.
Right.
You quickly learn though.
You figure it out.
You quickly learn how serious what you're doing is, and we had a lot, a couple of avalanche fatalities in Summit County that year. That kind of got introduced to skiing. I was like, wow, this is not what I thought it was. We have to really, learn what we're doing.
Got to step up our game. Yeah. Do you do a lot of events in the shop? That seems like another new component that the brick and mortar guys have that online doesn't. Hosting events to bring consumers in.
Yeah, we had this really cool event. It was a women's only backcountry safety class with Friends of Bertha Pass, and 60 women showed up. I mean, the interest in female athletes in these sports outside of doing it with their partner is also growing.
Right. That's awesome. And so what other activities do you participate in other than climbing and skiing? Do you paddle?
Climbing and skiing are definitely my main passions. I've taken up over the last 10 years or so surfing too. And it's It's cool because it lets you be a beginner at something. And
that's tough in Colorado though.
Yeah, you have to. DIA is the best piece of surf equipment. A plane from DIA. Nice. I'll go to these surf shops, and I'm a kook. I'm a total newbie and Gumby, and it really puts me in the position of what my customers feel when they're first experiencing climbing and experiencing the sports that we sell, and it's really nice to think of things from that perspective of a beginner again, because if you climb for a few decades, it's second nature, and a lot of my staff has been climbing for quite a long time, and I always encourage them to be a beginner at something, and it really allows you insight into relating to your customer.
That's great advice. That's a great thought, because so many of us, you're right, we've done all this stuff for so long, we've forgotten what it's like to be a beginner. And
oh my God, the first time I tied into a top rope, I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to die.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every primordial fiber in my body is recoiling against what I'm doing right now.
Right. Whoa, wait, what are we doing here? Yeah. What? And do you get out a lot? How often do you get out? Weekly?
I try to.
That's great.
A couple days a week. Yeah, it definitely fuels the passion of what I do.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
It wouldn't be the same, thing running a retail store if I didn't really, love what the things that we're about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's a great piece of advice, but do you have any other advice for someone wanting to either get into the outdoors or start, grow their outdoor career?
Well, it's getting complicated, the marketplace, and, we're having to choose our partners very wisely.
Mm-hmm.
We've been able to weather the advent of the internet. We found a way to compete there. We've managed to weather Amazon. We've found a way to compete there.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that we really can't compete against is when our manufacturers are chasing after our customers.
Yeah,
and
that's tough.
They are providing, well, for instance, we had a situation recently where, one of our key vendors who we're holding a lot of inventory risk with, decided to put everything on sale, all of the inline product at 25% off.
Wow.
And we can't compete against that.
Right.
And it's amazing when you watch the effects, like linear effects of what that sale does to that vendor's sales in the store.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys, you just devalued our whole inventory. We have to, take less risk with you guys and put our risk, in vendors that are going to support us.
Right. Partner with another brand, right?
Yeah. It's not just kind of finding cool gear and selling it. You have to be aware of the external marketplace that you're in, the environment that you're operating in.
Yeah.
And, and what your vendors' plans are, what they're doing, what their distribution strategies are.
I was talking with Scott Oshman a few weeks ago before his episode on the show. He has some great tactics for competing in the world of Amazon. Not necessarily to win against Amazon, but how to compete better in e-commerce. And this concept has been floating around my mind for a while. I haven't rolled it out yet. But do you think we might be making and trying to sell too much stuff?
I think that's always been. Well, at least for the last 10, 15 years, that's been the case. Overproduction, planned obsolescence.
Right.
That's certainly part of the model.
Yeah. I mean, some of these brand assortments are just they're just too huge. And then not only is the assortment too big because it creates confusion for the consumer, but then I think, having lived inside a couple of these brands, they could probably make 20% less stuff and actually improve everybody's margins because it's not all on sale.
Trim the catalog, build closer to production needs.
Don't
rely on liquidating overproduced stuff.
Right.
Yeah, there's certainly, I think that some of it's intentional planned up, some of it's sort of unforeseen. We just had, a lot of retailers over the last several years, really high profile retailers, go bankrupt.
Right.
And that produced a lot of glut of product on the marketplace unexpectedly for a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to watch what's happening in the European marketplace too, which is, also having an impact on us with, the dollar kind of strengthening and the euro weakening.
Mm-hmm.
It's making a play into the U.S. market viable for a lot of European internet retailers. So, you have a situation where there's no map control or no price control legally in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much that can be done about, European websites selling into the U.S. And some of the prices that we're seeing on really high profile product is kind of frightening.
Yeah, it just seems like if we made less and made it a little more scarce, it would help create demand, and people would realize that, man, I better get in there and get that new jacket because it's going to be gone. As opposed,
you have these companies selling. A lot of companies are publicly traded. You're having to answer
everybody's driven by
quarterly
the
profit
comp.
calls.
Yeah, exactly. You're driven by the comps, right? Yeah.
these guys don't want to hear about slow growth. They,
No,
they want results today.
Yeah. That's a whole nother can of worms. I'll probably get a bunch of phone calls after now that I've mentioned that, but whatever.
You've been outed.
Yeah, right. What are you saying? Let's shift gears away from all that talk. And do you have any suggestions? Do you have any daily routines you use to keep your sanity? Obviously, you get out a lot. Do you meditate? Do you walk the dog every day?
I have a hobby farm, and
cool.
Every morning, every night, I go out and see how the chickens are doing, and it just kind of grounds me. It's a wonderful chore to have.
That's awesome.
I play guitar, play music. That's really, it's a lot better than $100 an hour psychiatric bill.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you play publicly?
But just kind of coffee shop type of stuff.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. And how about some
for whoever will listen to us,
That's great. Yeah.
Generally, the drunker the audience is, the better we sound.
I have a buddy, the same kind of thing. He does the same thing. It's a great, I love to go see him and listen to him. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite books, or do you give books as gifts very often?
Well, I just read Hawaii by James Michener. I was just fascinated. He has this way of writing where it's like he incorporates geology, anthropology,
He's awesome.
Political history into one massive tome, and I'm kind of on a James Michener kick right now.
And those are huge books, right? I mean, you're right.
Yeah, it's a saga. It's like 1,000. It took me 6 months to read it.
Exactly.
Looking this 1,000-page book around.
Yeah.
As far as gifts, I love giving local Colorado products away. We just had a holiday, and
cool.
I bought a bunch of local peaches and honey, and
nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of cool artisanal stuff coming out of Colorado right now.
Yeah. Colorado's got a lot of things going on there. How about your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Oh boy. I really like what's happening in lithium ion and power and solar stuff. It's incredible what's kind of becoming in reach of on a consumer level, the technology that is available, like in lighting.
Right.
There's a BD Black Diamond product right now called the Moji Power Station, and it charges an internal lithium ion battery that you can charge other electronics from, but it's a lantern.
Oh, interesting.
And it's tiny. It's like it's the size of a softball.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, we'll link to that in the show notes. I'll have to look that up. I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
And before we go to rep, do you have any other things you want to say to the audience or ask of our audience?
Boy, I just think the outdoor retailer show coming to Colorado is a really interesting move for the state. It's it was kind of a little bit bittersweet leaving Utah. I had really hoped. We've made a lot of friends there. I think I went to 38 shows there, through the last 20 years.
Yeah,
and made a lot of friends, and it was, I feel a little defeated about it. I really hoped that the economic, the tangible now, what's now part of the gross domestic product, the outdoor industry it's, just sort of became a part of the federal recognized, revenue.
It's a line item. Yeah.
I'd really hoped that would have swayed the policies in Utah to act more favorably with public lands, and it was really disappointing that it just didn't work.
Yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. We just have a lot of work to do to help these politicians recognize, at least the Republican side of the world, that these gateway communities to these public lands are thriving because of all the activity going on in the public lands. And hit them in.
It's a real cultural. A massive cultural divide in a way. Whether you view the public land as a place to preserve and recreate, or if it's made for you to take minerals which it is. It's like all ranching and mining. These are all reasonable uses of public land, have been for years. But this is taking it to another level where removing designated public lands has just never happened before.
Right. Not on the scale. These guys are amazing.
Not on the scale it's happening.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the first domino to fall. You're kind of seeing it happening now in Oregon and Nevada, and it's kind of this Western maybe, parts of the West never really wanted or recognized that they were part of the United States. And I think these sort of ideas go, they're really historical and they go back a long time.
Way back, yeah. I mean, to the founding. Yeah. No, we have our work cut out for us, yeah. And how can people find you? Email, Twitter, what's the best way?
www.wildernessx.com.
Cool.
I'm Don at wildernessx.com.
Awesome.
We have a Facebook site.
Yeah, we'll link to all that in the show notes, and we'll put your email in there so people can follow up. Well, thanks, Don. It's been great chatting.
Great talking to you too, Rick. Yeah.
I look forward to meeting you at OR too. That'll be fun.
I do too. You're right around my former backyard in Bishop, California. It's such a great place.
Come on
you're
out.
Lucky to live there.
Come on out. Yep. When you get a chance, come on out, and we'll I won't ski with you, but we'll do something together. I'll take you fishing or something.
Yeah, right on. Cool.
Awesome. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Talk to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Don Bushey. You can catch up with Don by email at don@wildernessx.com and follow the Wilderness Exchange on Instagram at WildyX, that's WILDYX, and Wilderness Exchange Unlimited on Facebook. You'll find links to everything we discussed in the show notes at the outdoorbizpodcast.com/episode/066. I'd be grateful if you visit iTunes and give us a rating and review, and be sure to share this episode or tell a friend about it. Thanks go out to Jason Cox for the cool new Outdoor Biz logo. Great work, Jason. Thank you. I'd love your support too. Visit the support page on our website or go to patreon.com/theoutdoorbizpodcast and see the many ways you can support the show. Thanks for listening. If you want more of the Outdoor Biz podcast, you can subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure and go to theoutdoorbizpodcast.com where you find all the episodes, show notes, and much, much more. Thanks for listening, and until next time, be sure to make time to get outside.